Good morning guys and welcome back to the channel. So you joined me in front of my E36 M3 and you saw in the last video obviously I crashed it and we're going to build an E36 M3 touring project. So there's no time to waste. Let's start getting this car stripped apart, see what we need to replace, see what needs to be cleaned, refurbished, all that kind of stuff, and we can go from there.
So we're going to start removing bits from that smashed up M3. The first thing we'll do is remove all of the fluids, so like the engine oil, the diff oil, the gearbox oil, power steering fluid, the coolant and the brake fluid. Once we've done that, we can start dropping the actual subframe itself. So what we're probably going to do is undo the struts from the top and leaving the engine in place on the frame, undo the frame as well, and then we'll drop the whole lot out from underneath, obviously removing power steering lines and coolant lines and stuff like that. Then once we've done that, we'll move on to the rear and we'll drop the subframe again, all as one piece with the diff included. Again, removing brake lines and anything else that's connected to the chassis. So we'll get it up in the air and we'll get started doing things.
First things first, we've got the M3 up in the air. I'm just going to go around and spray kind of the bolts that I think we're going to need to take off just with a bit of fluid. Just so they're not, you know, completely dry. To be honest, I don't know if I'm actually spraying the right bolts. Aston just told me to spray the bolts. Oh, there's so much rust on this car. Okay, I'm sure that's not all of them, but it's better than nothing.
Dead in here.
Oh! Yeah! Look at that. Okay, so we spent the morning slowly peeling everything off. So where are we at, Aston?
So we've drained all of the fluids. The oil's out, the coolant's out, we've released the aircon gas and removed the oil from the gearbox and the diff. We've also disconnected all of the wiring from the top, so that's all loose and disconnected from the body. We've come along and undone all of the brake lines as well as the brake sensors and any kind of pipe in the fuel rails, the fuel lines and stuff like that that's connected all to the chassis that connects to the engine. That's all disconnected as well. Yep. The prop is off, the exhaust is off, and all we've got left to do now, sorry, the clutch line is disconnected as well. So all we've got left now is to undo the subframe bolts and to drop the whole frame down with the engine on it.
Yep, and then just do the same again on the back, I guess. Same
again on the rear, yeah. So as I said, we've done the diff oil, that's drained. Which we've got to disconnect the brake lines on the back, and then we can drop the whole subframe in the rear as well.
Alright, well let's get on with it then.
Get in there.
Okay, so end of day one and the M3 engine is out, it's on the stand, it's ready to be worked on, probably in a later episode, not now. Apologies if this hasn't been covered quite as clearly as some of the other stuff we do. Where I am working alongside of filming, I am just trying to figure out what's the best way to time-lapse stuff, what's the best way to capture little bits and pieces when I'm also trying to help out Aston and Hash as much as I can. In the morning, the rear subframe is, I think, ready to come out. Just a few bolts, hopefully they're not seized on. But for now, I think that's the end of the day. I'm probably going to go home, going to spend some time on Real OEM, search through some forum threads, and kind of figure out just what else needs to come off of this to be put on the Touring. I think we've got to take that ABS pump off and maybe the lines. So that's the kind of things I just need to figure out now. But I'm pretty happy for today, and hopefully it's been enjoyable to watch so far. But So that's the initial strip down of the M3 complete, and this is what I'm left with: a couple pallets and a shell with no back end smashed in. Have a quick look at what's left in here. It actually wasn't too bad to strip apart in the end. I think the car had been looked after before, been to some reputable garages and stuff like that. So that's the engine bay without the S50 in. I do still have to take a few bits out of here, because I know I need to take the ABS pump out and the master cylinder. I think that all the braking stuff is related. Obviously still got the ECU up in there to take out, so little things like that. And then at that point I think it's just starting to strip the shell down and sell off the rest of the bits that I'm not really going to use. I'll use the front bumper, side skirts, but any coupe specific bits, including the entire interior, are going to be for sale. So I'll put my Instagram if you want to get in touch with me if there's bits you need, that kind of thing. Happy to help people out, try and get those bits gone. So let's have a look at the pallets. What have we got on here? So this is just a little tray, oddments mainly. Got the gearbox. Think I might do the shift springs or indents, I think they're called. Read about that. I think they might be in there, maybe. I can't fully remember. Might do that as well as giving it a clean up and replacing the rear seal. Clutch and flywheel I did relatively recently, so I don't think that's needed. Got that even tree intake. That is a Z3M S54 cone setup that I got off Even Chewy. They don't support it or anything, but it does just fit up to the math. So that's a nice thing to do. Looking over here, I'm going to keep the sunflower wheels. I think they're my favourite of the standard E36 wheels. They will get a full refurb and everything in time. Not sure if I'll keep these tyres because it is going to be purely road now. Might go to a PS4, see if someone wants those tyres off me. Rear subframe rise. This is where we're going to start talking kind of about where I'm going with it modification wise, because this does already have, I believe it's a full polybush kit. This the previous owner did, but I'm not a huge fan of a polybush, to be honest. Unless the standard rubber bush is kind of fatally flawed, I prefer the rubber bush, especially a nice fresh one. So my plan is to actually do completely new rubber bushes all the way around, just because I think it suits a road car more. You don't need to be adding unnecessary stiffness for something that I do want to be compliant, really. Rear diff itself was leaking both in the input and the outputs where the drive shafts are, which you can't really see, they're in there. So I think that's worth getting rebuilt. Not sure what entirely I'll do. I had originally thought about putting the E36 final drive in, but if it's going to be just a road trip car, I don't see the real reason to shorten the gears. But what I'll do with the diff itself, whether I have that repacked service kind of thing, or if I change the unit inside. Moving on to the front. Okay, front subframe and the prop shaft there. I'd already done the purple tag steering rack. If you do have an E36 M3, I would 100% recommend you do it, because before that I was actually a little bit, I want to say, kind of disappointed with the car. Just felt quite big, kind of, it didn't feel nimble, but changing that rack made a big difference. Obviously these Bilstein, I think it's a B12 kit from memory. Yeah, Ibex springs and Bilstein dampers. They'll be going for some form of, I imagine, coilover setup. I'm not 100% sure what yet, but maybe I'll be sticking with the Bilsteins. We do have that on a few of the other cars, and I'm pretty happy with how that rides, so that kind of makes sense. And looking at the brakes, I probably will just stick with standard brakes. I'd love to do some APs up front, just because I love that kind of 90s look. I feel like it really suits the period of the car, but I don't think I can really justify, what, like 1,500 quid on some brakes that a road car doesn't really need, that already does have PFC pads in, and I was really happy with those. Engine wise, the manifolds themselves do look fine, thankfully. I've checked the rest of the exhaust, it is bent, so I think that took the most of the impact. It's quite nice actually, because you can kind of see a bit more of the Super Sprint build quality, the quality of the welds, all that kind of stuff. It is a really nice system. And it did make a bit of power, so that's always nice, especially on these. You can kind of see there that that's where your steering rack will go through, which is the right hand drive option. Let's have a look what else we're going to do on this. So if we come around the front, you can see it's very horrible and oily, and I think that's because the Vanos unit was leaking. And I do actually already have the parts to do the Vanos service. I was planning to do that. Well, I'm not going to do it, Aston's going to do it for me. So we'll do that while it's on the stand. And a general cleanup kind of thing. You know, so you see all these, this aircon pump, I think it's just caked in oil that's slowly sprayed off. That slight oil leak, you can kind of see all in here, it's just all horrible and grimy. So I really want to get this entire thing cleaned up. And then just replacing all the perishables, all these power steering lines are going to go. I think I'm going to try and do all the vacuum lines, and then refurbish kind of things like the plenum, the valve cover, all that kind of things. I just want it to look nice and fresh. Okay, so lastly, I've had a few people on the last video asking why I'm not repairing the coupe shell, and them saying it's kind of repairable and stuff. And when it first happened, I did think, can I repair this? Is this a repairable crash? I just don't think it's financially viable to do it, to be honest. You can't really see inside, but the entire floor is all bent. From taking it all apart, it does seem like the subframe position is still correct. So I think the shell itself is probably still straight, but accompany that back end damage with the rust that I was finding throughout the rest of the car. Kind of the impact mullered the C-pillar, shattered the window. There was a dent somewhere along here, and this door is tight and you can see not aligned, so it's pretty serious. And then it's just generally rust all the way down it and stuff like that. So I just didn't personally think it was financially viable to repair. Not to mention that it wasn't an original car. It had had the clock swapped at some point. That meant the mileage was wrong on the kind of when you do a vehicle check, and the interior was originally grey, and between the previous owner and me, we'd swapped it to black, so it wasn't an original car anyway. So I didn't think it was worth spending kind of, you know, at least probably 10k to repair this when I could build a touring, and I didn't want to reshell it and make it kind of a replica of something they already made. So I decided to go for the touring route, and that's that really. I do appreciate that it would have been nice to save it, but I just don't think it's financially viable personally. Okay, so that's the end of the second episode on the M3 touring project. Just want to say thanks to everyone who watched the first episode, left comments down there, nice or not so nice. Like I said, I probably did deserve the people who ripped my driving, because obviously I did this. So this second episode has come round pretty quickly after the first one, and that's just because we can fit it in between other jobs. But from here on, the progress is probably going to slow down a little bit, so I'm going to then start kind of cleaning, stripping, that kind of thing, taking off stuff to be treated. So the next episode probably won't be quite as quick as this one, but I also don't want to make it take too long, because obviously it's sitting in our workshop, and it probably shouldn't be. It probably should be back outside. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'm going to leave it here.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you'd like to watch what YouTube suggests you might like from our other videos, you can watch that over here. If you like this video, please click on the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them for you.